right now. And guess what? It was a long weekend for me. Obviously, it was off the Saturday, this Sunday. Yesterday, I had some other work to attend to. But guess what? Show is back on today. And boy, has there been some exciting stuff to happen since the last time I had a show. You take a look at it right now. Utah Jazz up 3-1 over the Denver Nuggets. Loving that series. Loving all the player performances within that. Obviously, we're going to get to some of the players on my list today that have been in that series. Saw Luka Doncic just go off against the Los Angeles Clippers, literally will his team to a victory to tie up the series. That was the stuff of legend. I loved seeing that from Luka, hitting that game winner over Reggie Jackson to win the game in overtime. Also, another big storyline that not a lot of people have been talking about a lot, the Oklahoma City Thunder coming back down 2-0 in the series. Game 3 goes to overtime. James Harden fouls out. They win that. They win yesterday. They tie up the series after being down 2-0. That Game 3 was in overtime. The Rockets could have went up 3-0 in the series. Would have been over. But guess what? Now the series is tied. So I really love that. Lakers are just bulldozing their way through the Portland Trailblazers at this point. Clearly, the Trailblazers are not playing well enough for this stage at this moment. They're down 3-1 in that series. Same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks, as both those teams, Orlando Magic and the Trailblazers, took Game 1. But guess what? The number 1 seeds in both conferences are taking their claim. They say, we are the kings of this conference. Enough of the games. All right, we gave you Game 1, and now they are taking over. So yeah, I like a lot from what I'm seeing within these series. Other ones were sweeps by the Toronto Raptors and the Boston Celtics, who are going to match up. I can't wait to see who's going to win that. Hope Kyle Lowry's back in time, and maybe Gordon Hayward will be able to come back. Not sure, though. It could be a prolonged injury. So, look, it's been some really exciting stuff so far. I love everything that's happening within the playoffs at this moment. And as we see now with these sweeps that happen between the Celtics and the Toronto Raptors, there is a slowdown. So that means there are only 2 games on today. I have no problem with that, of course. The first one at 6:30, Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets. And then 9 o'clock, everybody's waiting to see if Luka can repeat the miracle that he pulled off in Game 4 between the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. So like I said, this has been a great playoff so far. I hope the excitement continues, and I hope everybody involved keeps playing to the standards that they've set for themselves. With that being said, I'd like to jump into the first segment, and that's why him, Landry Shaman. And this is a guy that usually I pick the over for this category, but for this one, I'm actually going to take the under with Landry Shaman. His line on DraftKings with minus 115 odds set for 8.5. I'm going to want to take the under on this one, although he did log in a solid 23 minutes off the bench, only scored 8 points in that matchup. Shaman's not a bad player by any means. I think he comes in and plays well for a Clippers team that has a lot of depth. But in this situation, I think that Shaman, he's only has 23 points. At 23 minutes, he's into the game, last game. So how many opportunities is he really going to be able to get? Not sure if this is a comfortable guy you want to take within this Clippers series. I like other guys on the Clippers bench a little better than him. We will get to them in a few minutes. But for now, this is the thing. You bet on people that don't have a lot of minutes in the game, their opportunities are few and far in between. So if he, goes in the game, he starts off 0 for 2, finishes with, maybe 2 made shots out of 5 along those lines. There's not going to be too many other opportunities for him to come back in the game at that point. So you have to think about it from the perspective of how long is this guy going to be in the game. I understand the line is low, but you don't want to take too many chances on a guy like this. Last game, he shot 3 for 8, which isn't terrible, isn't amazing, but I don't know if those are numbers that you really want to put your money on at this point. And like I said, nothing against Shaman. He's a great player. It's coming well. I think in Game 3, had that buzzer beater three-pointer to end the quarter, it was. But I like other guys on the Los Angeles Clippers in that degree. So I'm going to have to take the under on 8.5. That's on DraftKings. Minus 115 odds for Landry Shaman. So going to take that with him. And with that being said, we'll move on to the overs. Nothing but the net. And hey, we're talking about the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's go to the guy that I still like. He was in the why him category last time on Friday. I put him in. Marcus Morris, over 1.5 3-point field goals on DraftKings, minus 250 odds. There's a reason, minus 250. The volume is there for Morris. Takes 4 3-point shots at least per game. And like I said, Mavericks on BetQL.com have a C+ grade defense. So that's another thing you want to take advantage of. Kristaps Porzingis is out again. Another thing to look at. Maybe a lot of the focus will still be on Kawhi Morris to get those open looks. Just like we saw in the Mavericks-Clippers game when Luka Doncic hit the game winner. If you do see that scoreboard, they are down 1 point. That is because the game was tied. Kawhi Leonard penetrated the middle of the paint, dished out to Morris, trusted his teammate to make a big-time shot, and in the corner of the wing for 3, Morris sank it and gave them a 1-point lead when the Clippers were down 2. So not only is that huge for Morris, he's able to knock down big-time shots in big-time situations, it shows that they trust this guy. They trust him to take these shots. So guess what? Even if it's at the game and he needs one more 3, one more big play from Morris, guess what? They can't rule him out because of what they did in that sequence within overtime. So that's why I like Morris. Not only does he have the volume, he has the trust of his teammates, and he's going up against the Mavericks defense that's still C+ without Porzingis there. And also, you think about it, when Morris is in the game, when Paul George steps off the court, and Paul George is a name we will definitely get to in this show. When Paul George steps off the court, you could argue that Morris is their best shooter from the perimeter. So that's an area that he's comfortable with. He's been comfortable with in his career. I remember hitting props with him when he was on the Knicks earlier this season. So I think Morris is a good bet. Only 1.5, only needs 1 per half. And I like that line for Morris. So I'm going to stick with him this week. Today at least. And Marcus Morris, I do like him. Over 1.5 3-point field goals in this situation. Before we continue the show for a little bit, just want to remind everybody who's watching right now, if you haven't tuned in to the start of the show, you're watching Pick and Pop Player Props. I'm your host, Jimmy Scalia. Promo code Scalia, Scalia. Guys, if you go to BetQL.com and use my promo code Scalia, you will get 20% off an account to get the best sports betting data on the planet. And just remember, it doesn't have to be a long-term commitment. $12.99 for the first week. You could try that out, see if you like it. If you don't, move on. But if you do, you could extend it and keep your account going and keep getting that sports data to help you win in the future, whether it be on FanDuel, DraftKings, or BetMGM. So like I said, guys, promo code Scalia, Scalia, and you get 20% off your account. With that being said, we're going to keep it going on nothing but the net. And for this one, Mike Conley. This one looks a little confusing. Let me explain. Mike Conley, over 23.5 alternate points, rebounds, and assists. That's on FanDuel minus 170 odds. I love this bet a lot in this situation because of the alternate points, rebounds, assists. His regular points, rebounds, assists line was set at about 26.5, 27.5, and Mike Conley has come back, after he had to leave the bubble for the birth of his child. He comes back in. He scores 27 and 26 points, respectively, in the next 2 games against the Nuggets. So clearly this guy's locked in. He's been hitting his shots from downtown. He's been great in that regard. Only missed 1 in the first game he was back, and only a few in the next one. Also, even with Mike Conley, he's putting up over 20 points per game. Also has about 4 assists also per game in that degree. Rebounds are obviously very low, not something he's known for, but if he's still putting up 4 assists per game, he could hover around that maybe 4 to 6 assists mark. And if he's still hovering around the 20-point mark, could find a way to possibly push it over to get this bet for you. And like I said, this is a guy I bet on Sunday, actually, when the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz squared off. Had a big bet with Jokic, Mitchell, Murray, and him. He needed over 20 points. And by the first half, he was still in single digits, starting to get a little worried. But Mike Conley turned it on and ended up scoring about, like I said, 26 points in that win over the Denver Nuggets. So not only is he a player that could, find a way to get this for you, even if he struggles in the first half, he's a guy that can get it going, get it locked in. When guys like Mitchell take the bench, he is the guy to go to as a scorer for the team. So I love I love Mike Conley's line. It's probably my favorite bet of the day. Over 23.5 alternates, points, rebounds, assists. You still get it at a minus 178 line. That's really not a bad buy for that situation. So Mike Conley, point guard of the Utah Jazz, I think he'll continue to do what he's doing right now. And even if he gets about 18, 19 points, you only need a couple assists to get over that hump. And even if he grabs a rebound or not, that's why the points, rebounds, assists is always something to attack, guys, because there's so many different ways that your player can impact the game if he's not scoring. So Mike Conley definitely makes the nothing but the net right there. Now, bounce back ballers, we got someone today. It looks a little like Marcus Morris, but it's not. It's Monte Morris of the Denver Nuggets, and he has a point line of over 9.5 on DraftKings minus 110. Now, there's obviously some worrying things with Monte Morris. Has been struggling mightily in the past 2 games for the Utah Jazz. We take a look at his stats right now, and Monte Morris has scored 7 points in the last game, 4 points in the game before that, and a combined 5 for 17 from the field in both of those games. So really, really poor stuff from Monte Morris. But here's the thing, though. You take a look at his log. The volume is there. He's still shooting a lot. 2 for 7, 3 for 10. He's taking a lot of shots at 3 for 10. And he finished with 7 points in that game. Pretty much unacceptable. Obviously, you also got to take into account Sunday's game. Jokic and Murray just simply took over in that circumstance. Murray obviously boasting a 50-point game. Jokic 29 of his own. So I think that Morris could definitely find a way to have room because it's going to be hard for Murray to really repeat those Murray and Jokic to really repeat those performances. And I think that Morris could be the guy to possibly take over. And look at the line; it's only 9.5. Nothing too crazy in that circumstance for them. So, if he just makes a couple of those or gets fouled, shoots a couple of free throws, only needs 10 points in this game, just average about 5 per half, and he'll be able to get this line. So, as a bounce back baller, even though he's a player that hasn't been playing well right now, I think I'm solid with him making the bounce back ballers list. And in this situation, like I said, only needs 10 points. So, something to definitely attack. Also, with that being said, BetQL has the Denver Nuggets as a B-plus offense grade. So there's a team that could score in a multitude of ways outside of Murray and Jokic for this big-time Game 5 against the Utah Jazz. And Morris knows this could be his last game on the court before he's sent out of the bubble. So in this situation, you definitely have to take a look at Morris, see what he can do. And he played a whopping 36 minutes in the game. So has the minutes. He was 0 for 4 downtown. Don't like that. But if he could find a way to reverse it, like I said, volume's there, the minutes are there, only needs 10 points in the situation. I think Morris could definitely handle this one. We're going to stay in the Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets series. Obviously, with only the 2 games today, we're going to be flip-flopping back and forth between them. Only 4 teams to choose from, so just get ready to hear a couple more names from those games today, as they're the only ones to bet on. So with that being said, we're going to move on to feeling risky. And we got Donovan Mitchell, who has just been on a tear. Like 50 points in 2 games in this series. The only other players in NBA history to do so or Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson. And Donovan Mitchell has found a way to get himself in that territory with those guys. It's unbelievable what he's doing. 57 in the first, 51 last game. And let me tell you, Game 4, they're up 2-1. The Nuggets are going off. They're fighting back. Like I said, Jokic had 29. Murray had 50. And Mitchell responds with 51 of his own. You know, this is a guy that just a budding star in the NBA right now, along with Luka Doncic. This guy is going absolutely off and still has those. I mean, he doesn't get too close to a triple-double. So those assist numbers pretty high up, 6 to 8. That's a pretty good number for a shooting guard. So Donovan Mitchell, I mean, if you can't tell, has really become one of my favorite players in the league right now. Is putting Utah on the map. No one would have expected them to go up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets, who everybody thought was a better team in this spot. But here they are, and they're here playing as well as they possibly can. So for feeling risky, I'm going to go with the man, Spider, as they call him, Donovan Mitchell, over 48.5 alternate points, rebounds, and assists. Obviously, it is feeling risky. It's plus 480 in this circumstance, so you could throw 10 on it, win about $40 to $50. Donovan Mitchell, look, this is a guy that's definitely capable of this. In Game 5, they're going to be looking to close this thing out. They don't want to give Denver any leeway because they know how good of a team they are offensively and defensively in different spots. So, look, obviously, like I said, 50-point game. They need, like I said, they need one more game to just close this out. So I feel like Mitchell is going to take this very seriously. In his post-game interview after putting up 51 points, he said, look, the only thing that mattered after tonight is we won this game. We haven't won anything besides that. Referring to moving on to the next round of the playoffs, he wasn't really looking for that. He was just focused on the win that they already got. So Donovan Mitchell, look, this guy is a stud at the young age. I think he's only about 23 years old. He's going to continue perform at this high level. And like I said, look, if you take a look at this line, if he doesn't go off, let's say he has about, 20, well, for this one, you would probably need him to get around 30, 35. If he has a lot of those rebounds and assists, they come in clutch. This is why this is in the feeling risky category. Like I said, this guy just rip off 30, 40-point games. And if he gets in that 30, 40-plus margin, taking a look at possibly can he get this done, especially if he scores 40 points, it's getting done. That's it, because rebounds and assists will definitely make up for that. And this guy's the most dominant player on the court, in this series. I think that's pretty evident. Even in the overtime loss, put up 57 points. It's just unbelievable stuff from Mitchell. Just gotta love the way he's playing. You gotta love the direction of the youth in the NBA for sure. It's some exciting stuff. So Donovan Mitchell, love that feeling risky. One of my favorite feeling riskies I have posted. For sure. Now it's kind of weird because, we go from this amazing story and great player in Donovan Mitchell to a category where I just added called Stay Away, and I'm going to have to pick my man, Paul George. Look, I love Paul George. Did some great stuff, with the Pacers. Everybody thought he was going to stay with the Thunder for a long time. Clippers traded 5 first-round picks, and that story went kaput. So on the Clippers, but this is a guy that you really just want to stay away from. You don't know if he's gonna come out and put together another just terrible effort in the playoffs, and it's pretty much inexcusable from Georgia's situation. I'm taking a look at these last games right now. Past 3 games, he has 14, 11, and 9. Okay, so there's a point decrease in every game. 4 of 17. 3 of 16. 3 of 14. I don't know what is going on with Playoff P, as they call him, but Playoff P clearly has a different meaning at this point. Paul George playing very poorly within the last 3 games of the series. So, Game 5 is obviously a big one. I think the Clippers can definitely respond with Porzingis out. But here's the thing. I don't want to get caught in one of those situations where I'm predicting this guy to have a bounce back or predicting him to continue his slump. That's why I'm saying just stay away from this altogether. His over-unders at 23.5. That's still a decent amount of points he has to score for himself. And the overs plus 100. So there's a little, you think about that one a little bit. And the unders minus 121. But I'm saying all together, keep Paul George out of your parlays. Keep him out of your straight bets. I would just stay away from him. No matter what happens, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. Paul George, he struggled his last 3 games. You figure he's going to try to find a way to make it up, but you really don't know. Okay? And, it's hard to tell when he's going to wake up. After that insane Mavericks win, it's hard to tell where the series is going to go, although I like the Clippers. And look, Kawhi has been keeping the ball in his hands a lot. Also, Lou Williams went absolutely off. That was a storyline that got missed completely. After that, obviously, it kind of had to after Luka Doncic hit the game winner. But Lou Williams also went off. Kawhi Leonard. Those are the guys that are providing offense right now. If Paul George is not doing it, then hey, that opens the door for guys like Marcus Morris, like I included, to score over 1.5 3-point field goals. So Paul George, like I said, just stay away. Don't like that one, and it's just not worth taking the chance. That being said, we're gonna move on to the last segment of the show, under the backboard. God, I had to end it on 2 bad notes with these under games. This one's Michael Porter Jr. Under 12.5 points on DraftKings is minus 121 odds. And also, BetQL has the Jazz as an A defense grade. Obviously, the Jazz have been outplaying the Nuggets to this point. So Michael Porter Jr. is coming off a 9-point performance in Game 4 against the Utah Jazz. He was 1 of 3 from three-point land. And again, it's kind of another situation where it worries me. Much is the same as Landry Shaman. This guy gets limited playing time, so he only has 23 minutes in last game. Think about that. It's kind of hard to put together a 13-point performance when you're playing 23 minutes. I mean, look at Paul George. He's played the whole game. He put up 9 points. That doesn't help anybody at all. So, had to get a little heated there. But Porter Jr., 23 minutes. Don't like that situation. It puts him in with a line of 12.5. And he was kind of more productive from a rebounding perspective within that game as he notched 4 within the 23 minutes he played. So, Michael Porter Jr., I like him. He's a great young talent. He can obviously score. But this is the thing, Game 5, how much trust are they going to put in the young guy to make big plays in the situations they need to? And like I said, 23 minutes, that says a lot about what seemed to be, 2-1, pretty much a must-win game. You don't want to go down 3-1. Be facing elimination for the rest of the series, and they only kept them in for 23 minutes. So like I said, this line I thought was a little high for Porter Jr., under 12.5. I like it in that situation. No disrespect to him at all, but we'll see what happens. But for that situation, I do like the under for Michael Porter Jr. 12.5, only had 9 last game, played 23 minutes. So a still, how many shot opportunities is he really going to get in that situation? So, guys, only 2 games today. Short one, but I'm excited for them. That'll just about wrap up Pick and Pop Player Props. I've been your host, Jimmy Scalia. Hope everybody's enjoying the playoffs. And don't forget, guys, promo code Scalia, Scalia, if you want to sign up to a BetQL account to get the best sports betting data on planet. So, like I said, everybody, hope you enjoy the games today. I'm really pumped up. Can't wait. Hope these locks are great for you guys. Hope you guys lock them in. Make that money. Make it rain. And guys, tomorrow, for a little bit bigger of a slate, got the Bucks and the Magic for Game 5. Obviously, the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Excited for that one. That's also a Game 5. And the Portland Trail Blazers and the Los Angeles Lakers will meet for their Game 5 with the Blazers down 3-1. They're in trouble. How are they going to make up for it? We'll find out. So, guys, I'll see you tomorrow, and take care.